Is the Splatoon 3 campaign really better than Octo Expansion? Regarding both, the story felt more like a story than really any of the other ones did. Levels were challenging, but not too challenging to the point of frustration. Map design was good, a lot of lore was uncovered, and especially looking back at the previous hero modes, we can see that these were a huge upgrade. Before we start, I want to mention that this whole argument is heavily opinion based, so just don't kill me in the comment section, alright? First off, let's start out with addressing some of the things that they both do right, and then we'll go from there. The main thing that I absolutely love about both these stories is the levels showcase the different capabilities of all different weapons. Even the fact that it includes weapons that are actually in the game is an improvement. Looking back, Splatoon 1 was a solid story mode because it was new and the level design was actually pretty decent. Then, with the Splatoon 2 hero mode, it kinda just felt like a copy-paste version of the first one, but with worse level design. These levels were built to be completed with every class of weapon, often making for mediocre gameplay because there's only so much you can do with those limitations. The same level that should be completed with a charger also needed to be completed with Umbrella, so the stages really couldn't stretch the ability that each class has. Now, for the differences. First up is the overall difficulty. I think most people would agree that Octo Expansion generally has more difficult levels than Splatoon 3. Since the beginning, the story mode was mostly just a long tutorial slowly teaching you how to play. This is still the same for Splatoon 3, while it did pose a significantly harder challenge than the previous ones. The reason Octo Expansion was so much harder is because it was a paid DLC, or a game add-on. It didn't need to have that level of instruction that the original story mode did. Since most players had already familiarized themselves with the new weapons and mechanics, Nintendo really focused on making these levels more fun and challenging. Now, I'm not saying Splatoon 3 really let up with the difficulty here, because some of the survive enemy attacks and break the target levels do challenge you quite a lot. The one I felt was the hardest was one-way ride through Target Town. With a huge difficulty spike and no checkpoints through the entire level, really puts this one up there with some of the Octo Expansion stages. Especially if you hate having fun and you use the tri-stringer. Yeah, that was something that I suffered through. Octo Expansion features stages like Girl Power Station and Righteous Rail Station, and oh my gosh, Girl Power Station. I still have PTSD from that. And on top of that, the reworked boss fights only allowing you a special to defeat the boss were also quite difficult. I found myself struggling the most with the baller fight for some reason. It's super easy to get knocked off and you have to damage him a lot to actually defeat him, making for a very challenging boss fight overall. Next, let's take a look at the actual stories of the story mode. Just a quick warning, this section contains spoilers for both of these. To give you the briefest synopsis of Splatoon 3, basically, the Zapfish is stolen again, big surprise, and we follow the creepy old dude into the sewers. As we fight our way through the first world, we play levels similar to those of Splatoon 1 and 2, when at the Octavio boss fight, the ground suddenly collapses and we fall into a place called Alterna. We fight through more levels, eventually fight a giant bear on a rocket in space, and ultimately save the world of Splatoon. Makes sense, right? Now, Octo Expansion. A talking phone tells us he'll help us get to the surface if we get him 4 items. We fight our way through different stations as Agent 8 to gather all of them. Those items turn out to be a giant blender that almost kills all of us, but Agent 3 saves us and we're all good, right? Wrong. We fight against the talking phone in a giant turf war match and again, save all of Splatoon. Then that one song that made literally everyone burst out into tears plays while the credits roll.
Let's be honest, I never cried to music. I would never cry to a song, let's be honest. I am a
I feel like I gotta give extra points to Octo Expansion just for the soundtrack alone. I know I didn't explain these stories fully in depth or really that great at all because, well, you guys probably don't want to listen to me talk about that for over 2 hours. Overall, the Octo Expansion story really just felt a lot deeper, and especially browsing the chat logs gives us a look into the darker side of Splatoon lore. I really hope this is something they include in the upcoming Side Order DLC as well. Should we talk about the secret levels? Yeah, I think we should. Note, of course, this section also contains spoilers. In Octo Expansion, after completing all the levels, we get the opportunity to fight Inner Agent 3. If you haven't played this, just imagine the regular Agent 3 fight, but like, on steroids. In this fight, Agent 3 is able to spam specials, making the opportunities to return fire very infrequent. I found this fight alone to be one of the most challenging in the series. Concerning Splatoon 3, once you complete all the levels, you unlock After Alterna, a super challenging 4-section stage that only gives you 5 checkpoints. Also, the fastest speedrun of this level was around 8 minutes, making it one of the longest stages in Splatoon. The first section focuses mainly on movement, requiring a lot of precision with the controller. Next, we have a balloon popping section that is actually less challenging than the one-way ride through Target Town. After that, we get a puzzle section with the soaker blocks, not too hard. And finally, what would a final stage be without some good ol' overpowered robots? In this section, we get 4 waves of Octarians, each getting progressively harder to defeat, and even though they were all using specials, something about this just didn't feel as challenging as the Inner Agent 3 fight. For completing After Alterna in the Inner Agent 3 fight, you receive the Teddy Ears and the Golden Toothpick respectively. I gotta give this one to Splatoon 3, however, because the Teddy Ears were just a much better reward. So, is Splatoon 3 story mode better than Octo Expansion? In my opinion, not really. Now, before you get mad at me in the comments, because I'm sure some of you will, just hear me out. I know this is just opinion, but I feel like I was way more attached to the story of Octo Expansion. The levels were honestly all really great, while I felt some of the stages in Splatoon 3 were kinda lackluster. And I know I brought this up earlier, but the soundtrack for Octo Expansion is just so good. Anyways, I hope you have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.